Revelation Wellness Community, we have a new friend in the house today. Mark Buchanan is here with us. He is the author of a book. Well, he's authored many books, but we're going to specifically hone in on this book today called God Walk, Moving at the Speed of Your Soul. It's one of those books that I wrote up. This is actually my second copy, Mark, because the first one I was reading at the pool and it just got destroyed. So, in order not to look like a hobo, I got a better one. So, Mark, thanks for being here today.
Alisa, I'm so glad to be with you.
It's a gift. I actually was listening yesterday. I was doing a little research on you and listening to you on some other podcasts. I believe you were at some ministry leadership place just recently, maybe, but I was listening to you and I was saying to my staff, one of my staff members, I go, he's like still water,
Mm.
but there's strength behind it moving still. So
Well, thank you.
I'm
That's very kind.
is that it? Tell me a little bit about your journey becoming who you are with the Lord. Were you always
Yeah.
this kind of a contemplative spirit
Oh
or?
gosh, no, no. And I'm so honored and a little bit and maybe embarrassed by your kind description of still water because most people, I think, for most of my life would say I was fast water. It was shallow,
Mm,
it was loud, it was,
mm,
torrential. It was easy to get sort of caught up in the current of me, but not necessarily in a good way.
yeah.
And so really my entire life, at least especially the last 10 years, has been around really the art of slowing down or
Wow.
seeing things, paying attention in many ways. I think slowing down is fundamentally a practice of attentiveness.
Yes, sir.
And my whole life I've been in a rush, and still, if I don't guard my heart and be mindful about it, I can get in a fired up hurry very quickly. And yet, nothing. I can't think of I've never had to run from a fire or a bear or anything. So there's no good thing that's come out of my rushing.
Yeah.
But a lot of woundedness from me and another. So I
Yes.
think I've just finally just came to this place. Been working toward it for a long time, and you'd see that in the history of my publishing. My book about Sabbath is now nearly 20 years
Hmm.
old.
Hmm.
But really, it's been this deep commitment in learning the ways of attentiveness by way of slowness.
And so by the way of slowness, so this
Yeah.
was you're not your gut instinct.
No.
Something had to have happened. Or I'm just going to ask, was there a turning point in your life that you said this has to change?
Yeah, I mean, probably several. I mean, there's some really distinct moments where
Yeah.
there was one season where I think in the midst within a week I racked up something like $700 in just stupid tickets for speeding and running stop signs, and it was just like this convergence. It was like a conspiracy of God and nature, God in the system to kind of bust me. And every one of them, I wanted immediately to make rationalize, make excuses why, I ran that stop sign. It was
Sure.
11:30 at night, and it was a slow little neighborhood or whatever. But all of them, in the end, were empty. Like I saw myself first trying to explain this to my wife, and that sounded hollow and empty to tell her, why I had got a speeding ticket or,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then it was worse trying to imagine explaining to God. And God,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine God going, "Oh, my son, of course, of course." Like what really became deeply evident to me is this purposeless rushing that
Mm,
had marked out so much of my life. So I've had a few moments like that,
mm,
but a lot of it is just been this slow accumulation of the harm I've done, in relationships, in my own physical well-being, et cetera, through
mhm,
rushing,
mhm,
and the good that's come from not rushing. So
mhm,
it's been this, I mean,
mm.
honestly, wish most of my life was just a series of blinding, healing revelations from which I never, I picked up and never went back. But mostly it's been this kind of stumbling toward
Yeah.
some kind of illumination, some kind of a better way. And honestly,
Yeah.
to this day, like it was fun a few weeks ago. A friend, I didn't know it, and she called later and she said, "I passed you on the highway. I can't believe that was you. You go so slow now." And so I sort of felt vindicated or something that
Yeah.
it's become much more just I get in a car and why would I be in a hurry? But just put me in, in a major city where everybody's kind of, racing like it's a gladiatorial race or it's charioteers or
Mm.
something. And that old self kind of just, I can feel it rising.
So it sounds like the Mark of 20, 30 years ago maybe wouldn't recognize the Mark of today. Would you say that's fair?
Would recognize or wouldn't?
Would not.
No, I don't think so. I think that, I hope not. I hope it'd be like, who are you, dude? Like,
How'd you get
I met
here?
you from the future, and you look like kind of an old saggy version of me, but you can't be me. You can't be me because I'm the guy. Like, honestly, if I test out on a Enneagram, I'm an 8.
Yeah. I'm
The
an
old,
8.
yeah, the
Oh
old
man.
type A, type B. I'm pure A, type A. So then you're an 8. Like, I mean,
Mark.
like,
Yeah.
wow, like well then you must be on the same journey.
I'm on the same journey. I'm not as far as you. If anything, and I'll just be real transparent here. I received some staff review of myself. Yeah, you know where this is
Yeah,
going.
yeah,
I
I know the
asked
mirror
for
held up.
I asked the staff to hold up the mirror and tell me what they see, and it was painful. It
Uh,
was painful to hear. Like, and it did ultimately, when I distilled the news down of what they were saying, it's slow down. It's
wow.
listen.
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
which is hard for an Enneagram 8.
Well,
When
yeah,
you
because
see
we
a
know so
vision,
much.
you But I do. No, I know. But it's that whole vision thing too. It's
Yeah,
been doing ministry now for 14 years, which is still baby amounts of time, but yeah, I think you know this too, especially in ministry. You get so almost in a sense traumatized by
mm,
the amount of chaos or
yeah,
concerns and people
yeah,
caring for people. My husband works in corporate America and he's like, I could never do what you do because you're stewarding hearts so much
right.
while
Well,
still trying to move a mission.
yeah,
And so,
beautiful phrase, and motivating people without the normal incentives that we can put before people.
right.
Here's a huge bonus, or here's, if we get this contract, here's all the extra moolah we're going to have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it really is. I love that phrase of stewarding of the heart,
Yeah.
and that would just come back to what we've been talking about, Alisa,
Mm,
that hearts don't grow by being sort of bullied or rushed.
yeah. It's true.
So yeah, I mean, so if we can't slow down, if we can't listen, I mean, it's the deepest irony because often those who will grow a ministry and grow it well and grow it fast are people who have temperaments like you and I, where we know a lot and but we sometimes don't listen enough, and we kind of push, we make it happen. But again, that cost to self, that
Mm,
cost to others, that cost
mm.
relationship. In the end, what can happen is a cost to the mission itself.
Yes,
And I mean,
sir.
we have enough examples. We don't need to get into, all of those, but they're lying
Mm,
to the right and to the left and behind us, before us, people who grew things, and with the best of intents.
mm,
And yet now they're often in shambles because
mhm,
of something in the character of the leader that
mm,
couldn't listen, couldn't pay attention, didn't
mm.
got the staff reviews and said, well, that you just have to live with me. That's how
Yeah,
I.
or made a bunch of excuses and reasons why, which I ain't gonna lie. First 2 hours, I had a list going. It was a
Oh,
strong list.
my goodness, if an eight, it's really, I think an eight is not so much aggressive that we can be that, but defensive.
Yeah.
This sort of self-justifying narrative that easily I can come up with anyhow. So honestly, it's like I think the rest of my life, Alisa, is going to be a kind of the first part of my life has been a kind of getting a lot done
Mm,
because of some significant, benefits to my personality. And I think the
mm,
the latter part of my life is trying to heal myself, my
mm.
relationships, etc., from from the
Yeah.
dysfunctions of my personality without losing sight. I mean, I teach I'm a professor and I teach a
Hmm.
lot on spiritual formation. And one of the
Hmm.
things I really try to get into the hearts of my students is try to die to all ambitions, but try to awaken the good desires.
Mm,
So, I mean, a
mm.
lot of Christian spirituality is about
It's
cultivating
good.
proper desire. So don't get indifferent, don't become sort of apathetic and
Hmm.
complacent. You have to actually, if a good life is that you actually have more desire at 80 than you did at 20. It's
That's
different.
good.
It's
Yeah.
different. But you're like
Yeah.
roaring. You're like Caleb, like give me hill country, give me some giants
Yeah.
to go sort of fight because I ain't done yet. But this
Yeah.
kind of it's a focus, there's a purified desire in us, which takes a lifetime to get it to that place where it's not harmful to us or
Yeah.
others. But to lose desire is to actually lose what makes us alive.
Yeah.
But ambition always messes with us. At some point, it comes back and it takes away the very things it gave it in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
to even try to explain that, I don't think I'm explaining it well, but I mean, I think what Paul talks about vain, selfish ambitions and vain conceit, he's talking about this thing that it'll come back and get you in the end, but you never get
Hmm.
ever a sense of Paul that he's saying, oh man, I've got no desire at all. Like the guy was just fire,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
nothing, and it just grew. Like it was like he had to go and plant as many churches and reach as many people and help
Yeah.
people really understand what was in Jesus. That was a fire that got bigger in him. But I
Yeah.
don't think it was ambition. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, I get the plaques
Mm.
on the wall at
Mm.
some point. I get the big house for this.
Yeah.
So that's really, I mean, kind of condensing a lot of the kind of theology I've done around the practices of formation, these embodied practices that you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yes. That's so good. Your book, God Walk, Moving at the Speed of Your Soul. You wrote this, and then I want you to tell me more about what you learned when you wrote this book. But you said this, and I about jumped out of my skin.
Hmm.
You wrote it on page 5, physical
Oh, wow.
discipline.
Right at the beginning.
This, the seed of this book was annoyance or grief or something in between. I was annoyed or grieved or whatever it is that lies between that many spiritual traditions have a corresponding physical discipline
Mhm.
and Christianity has none. Hinduism has yoga, Taoism has Tai Chi, Shintoism has karate, Buddhism has kung fu, Confucianism has hapkido, Sikhism has gatka. Christianity has nothing. And then you go on to say, can walking be the Christian discipline?
Right. Oh,
Tell me more. Tell me
yeah.
more.
I mean, in the ancient writing about spiritual, the the dangers, the hazards of spiritual life. Pride was the number one danger, but the second one is probably gluttony. It wasn't
Yes.
understand as just like overconsumption of food. It was overconsumption of everything.
Yeah.
No off button, no sense I'm full
Wow.
now. I've got enough now. But this gluttony and
Mm.
avarice, whatnot, kept wanting more. And to be honest, at every level, it so marks out North American culture, but also that culture is very, very prevalent in the church. And
Mm.
so, in a lot of ways, I mean, you might see kind of some of those habits as well in other world religions, but what's marked about, say, Buddhism or Hinduism is the asceticism, the sort of restraint, self-restraint has remained a vital part of those religious traditions. And
Mm.
I do think it's deeply tied to the fact that they are connected with a physiology, an actual physical practice
Yeah.
that is intended to embody the convictions. And
Yeah.
that Christianity, the most embodied, the religion of
Yeah.
incarnation,
Yeah.
should not have a a corresponding physiology or physical discipline just was driving me nuts.
Yeah.
And then this discovery that, oh my goodness, what if it has always been walking?
Yeah.
And it's so prevalent in scripture. And that's what I try to tease out in the book
Me
in those
too.
first chapters, the theology of walking. It starts from, and God came and walked with, the man in the garden in the cool
Garden, the cool of
days,
the
and
day.
walking. Abraham, Noah walked with God.
Yeah.
Enoch walked with God.
God.
Abraham is a walker, all the way through, right to the end. And then the
Yeah.
way we treat it as metaphors, but I think are not, where you walk by faith, you walk in the light, you walk in truth. This is a walking culture. And I mean, I can hardly describe, Elisa, just the force of the revelation of realizing I think Christianity has always had built into the very fabric of it the discipline, the physical discipline, and it also is a slowing down discipline.
Yes,
And
sir.
that it's so soaked through scripture that nobody thought to make it explicit. It's implicit everywhere, but nobody thought, okay, now I'm going to tell you how we get all this to happen. Like, think about Jesus himself. He's itinerant. Literally, he moves about. And I do this thing in one of the chapters where I particularly follow Mark, which is the most kind of kinetic of all the gospels. He's just like blazing about the place. Hardly can keep up with Jesus. Oh, he just follow me. And then I think 33 times Mark's used the word and immediately, it's like boom, he's off.
Yes.
He's just like,
Yes.
and I did the map. I did actually mapped it out. I mapped out as much as you can the geography of Jesus' travels, and it's never in a straight line. Like there's no like, okay, it's point A to point B. The shortest route there is this amount
Yeah.
of miles. We'll take. No, he like, oh, let's go that very long way around.
Yeah.
And so what's that? Except here's a guy not in a hurry, and B, somebody who realized I've got a bunch of people who, and I got 3 years to sort these people out. They are so, you know, they're they're so not prime candidates for the kingdom of God, and they have to be
Oh,
spokespeople for it and the embodiment of it. So we're gonna just have to go on a very, very, very long walk to
yeah.
get this into them. So I have a lot of fun with that, but I don't, I'm not, I'm dead earnest about it. Like I think that is the core Christian discipline and always has been. It's interesting now,
Amen.
as more and more of the physiological benefits of walking are being discovered and promoted in health communities and by scientific communities. It's a bit of a cure-all. And it doesn't
Yes.
have the kind of hard impact, say, that running does or some other forms of
Correct.
exercise. You're not at risk for some of the strain you would do if you're working out with lifting and whatnot. All
Yeah.
of that. I
Yeah.
do.
Power moves, all that.
Yeah,
I mean, which there's amazing athletes of Olympic athletes that can do these amazing power
yeah.
feats, but it's not sustainable too.
It's not
It's
sustainable. And I mean, I work out with light weights and stuff. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that there's so many benefits that have always been
yeah,
like by divine design
yeah,
given to us in being pedestrian, being able to walk.
yeah,
And so all of that, I mean, I did, it was interesting when I write a book, at least I get interested in something and I'll write maybe 30, 40 pages, at which point I pretty much run out. That's all I know about any given topic on the face of the earth. Like,
Good
and
to know. My writing, I now feel normal. Thank you.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm totally out of ideas now. But the only reason I would then try to turn into a book, because it's going to involve massive research after that 30,
Yeah.
40 pages, is I'm still interested. If after the 30,
Yeah.
40 pages, it's like, yeah, I don't really care, then I don't proceed with a book. But I got to 30, 40 pages in with God Walk, and it's like, I'm just, I'm so curious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the research then sort of comes and pushes it to 280 or whatever pages it becomes. And even then I felt, oh gosh, there is so much here to know.
Yeah.
And all of it was beautiful. Like that itself was such an exercise, literally, in just being amazed at our bodies and
Yeah.
uh, the fact that we carry ourselves like
Right.
you know
Right.
like any mechanical thing, a car or a wheelchair or something, can only get you so far, and
Yeah.
then you or somebody else has to carry you.
So true.
And the fact that God built the human body that unless an injury or
Yeah.
these prevents it, you get to carry yourself, and that
Yeah.
we wouldn't kind of participate in this miracle like
Yeah.
as much as we could.
Yeah. And if we could pull back the veil. And I think that's something in here at Revelation Wellness we really try to do is redefine what it means uh, to have a body, to be a body that isn't about, I think, the world did a really good job at taking uh, a narrative for our body and applying, here's what it looks like to be healthy. And there's some good truth there, but
Yeah,
it hijacks
yeah,
the connection to the God who said, I want to walk with you in the cool of the day. That's
yeah,
always been my intention for you. I've always wanted to be with
yeah,
you. And the God who and when Jesus comes back and is incarnate and on the road to Emmaus, right? He's on
yeah,
a road walking is when he decides to tell these to forlorn people
yeah,
who he is. And so it's so beautiful. But yet we live in a culture now that is fast moving, fast to get me what I need to me really easy and convenient. So we don't live as embodied. We don't have to leave our house to go. Did you know we live in our houses? Like you can 93% of your day or week, it's you're in your indoors. Most people can be indoors and never have to leave their house. So this lack of connection to who we are as a whole person just seems to be happening more and more, where walking is still something that you did if you got out of bed. If you were so blessed, you got out of bed, you
yeah,
walked to the bathroom, and that wonder of, wow, this is a pretty amazing thing. Like we
yeah,
have this gift to lift ourselves up and to follow or to go and do. Yeah, what would you have to say about like bringing back a wonder about
yeah.
this
Well,
design?
oh, absolutely. Like I think it comes from wonder and it leads to wonder. You mean the way you just beautifully described it, Lisa? I mean, just getting out of bed should be a thing that
Mm.
I did it again. God did it again. We
It's
collaborated
so
again
true.
around getting out of bed. I'm in my body. My wife and
Yeah.
I have a ministry with Indigenous women or
Yes.
in your part of the world, Native American women, and the number one thing, these are women, all of them are coming out of some addiction,
Mhm.
and that addiction is not because it's not from being sort of having flawed character or whatnot.
Mhm.
There's stories of the harm done, and the trauma suffered is
Yeah.
such that, man, I would be an addict if I'd gone through what these women
Yeah.
had gone through.
Yeah.
But it's so profound that most of the healing is through becoming embodied again. They're
Yeah.
so detached. They're so bodily. They're often come and they're very ill in various ways, but they've kind of they're numbed their bodies, and
Yeah.
a lot of healing, a
Yeah.
lot of healing from addiction becomes getting a person back into their body. So
Yes,
breathing,
sir.
walking,
Yes. Yeah.
feeling,
Yes.
a feeling not just emotion, but sensation, feeling
Yes.
cold, feeling hot, touching things. We every morning we do this ministry in beautiful places. It'd have to be a brutal weather to not start with a at least a half-hour walk. And
Yeah.
walk is we do this on a beautiful island, so it's we go and look at the ocean, we go through the forest and all of this.
Yeah.
And honestly, what happens through these simple practices of just being in the body
Yes.
awakens. So what we see emerge with a 7-month program is a turn toward art. So they start
Mm.
to see the beauty, they start to live into the wonder, and then they start to give back, and so they be painting, beading, moccasin making. They make their own
Wow.
ribbon skirts, which is a tradition of Plains indigenous people, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. So and everything. I mean, weaving. So all this artistry starts to emerge out of being in the body.
Mm.
And then some of that is so gorgeous, and in indigenous culture is so much about giving gifts. So we have
Mm.
these extraordinary number of gifts, paintings and beadwork and carvings that these women or their families have created out of gratitude. But to
Mm.
me, yeah, I mean that
Mm.
wonder, like this is not like I mean I guess that's would be one critique I'd have of the sort of wider culture's fascination with health. First of all, it's so fixated on a certain body look,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that it really has nothing, not it has something to do, but it's not so much about health.
Mm-mm.
It's about a form of beauty that no
Mm-hmm.
culture before ours has recognized this beauty. And the
True.
and the second thing is it is so about some kind of result that often we have to go fast with,
Mm.
rather than some kind of um, creativity
That's so
that
good.
that only comes through getting slow.
So
So
good.
it's almost in some ways diametrically opposite, the sort of larger cultural movement toward fitness.
Yes.
In some ways I applaud it. In other ways, it's almost diametrically opposite to what we're talking about,
Yes. Yes.
which is this embodied thing where I mean, you start to love your body. You love
Yes.
it despite that it might not, you know, fit the cultural type of the chiseled body or whatever it happens to
Mm.
be.
It does come back again to the wonder. Like, what if I looked at this from a different angle? What if I got curious and
Yeah.
asked the questions? Why did God give me a body?
Yeah.
Why did Jesus have a body prepared for him?
Yeah. Why did God like say, man, my only solution here? Like God doesn't seem to me ever lacking in kind of a range of solutions.
Come on.
But my only solution here is I've got to take on bodily form, and
Yeah.
all of the beauty and all of the limit and all of the burden of the body.
Yeah.
And actually, let's do it. Let's even take it a step beyond. No house for that body. How about tents and sort of caves that we put the body in? How
Yeah.
about no sort of meal plan, like you kind of depend on the kindness of strangers, etc.
Yeah.
So the sense of God saying, I'm going to play the hard rules, but I'm also like I don't want to sort of overstate it, but it's almost like God can't wait to get a body. I can't.
Yeah. Yes.
My best solution, my top solution to all of the plight I see in my creation is I'm going to come in bodily form and I'm going to take on all of that, all of the limitations and vulnerabilities of a body.
And he didn't come on and say, I'm going to take on bodily form and I'm going to show them how to cut their macros and
Yeah, yeah,
and really sculpt that thing and make
yeah,
it
yeah,
look like I meant for it. He could, again, he doesn't look at the outward appearance. The whatever is going on in the heart is going to make its way out the
totally.
body. And God had us in his heart in eternity
Yeah, yeah,
past,
yeah.
and I'm going to make a body for them. They're each going to have their own unique DNA strand. These are the things I just go, oh, this
Oh
is
gosh, yeah.
much better story. This is a much better
Yeah. And then I'm
wonder
not
and
going to lose the
curiosity.
body. I'm not going to go up to heaven and say, "Oh man, it's so good to be back to the spiritual life." It's like I'm going to
Yeah.
actually bring all the wounds up too. You know, you cut me, you pierced me. I'm going to bring those to heaven with me.
Oh,
Yeah, and so like that alone should stop us in our tracks and say, "Okay, something's going on here." And I love how you said it's not like here's my diet plan for you. You know, here's my
yeah.
workout regimen. I
Yeah.
mean, probably super, super fit, Jesus, because he's hoofing it everywhere.
Right.
And, at the end of his life, even after all that horrible beating, he can still, for most of the trip, lug the cross. And I
Yeah.
wood and a beam of wood that big, that is a lot that's a few hundred pounds. So he's lugging that thing. So you think, okay, this man had to be powerfully built in some ways. At the same time, it's never ever once an emphasis
No.
in how to get ripped abs like me or whatever. Never.
Yeah. No.
That formation of the heart, that formation of the mind, that formation of the attitude,
Yeah.
that's the emphasis.
Yes.
Now, I think you and I would both say. And that stuff always is tied in with a deep care for the body.
Sure.
That
Yeah.
if we're not stewarding the body, we're not stewarding the heart. And
Yeah.
these things always tie together. But I don't think, I mean, some of the ways that sometimes I hear that talked about, even in Christian circles, that really just tie into the ideology of fitness and
Yeah.
not
Yep.
to this
Yep.
deeper theme of real health, of real
Yep.
wholeness.
Yep.
That's what I would be cautious about.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about the indigenous women and how healing at some level requires embodiment. Like it comes back to that, maybe even primally or
Yeah,
primary. Like I
yeah,
need to come back to me. Uh, that out of that, then what spurs is creativity, which
yeah,
is so cool to think that's really what our bodies are for. We have a saying that our body isn't about vanity, it's about ability. What can I do
yeah,
with this
capacity.
body?
Yeah.
What can
A-
I can weave, I can draw, I can carry water from here to there and
The
provide some
hand
resource.
alone, right? Like what a hand can do. A hand
Yeah.
can sew a stitch. A hand can pick up a spoon. A hand can hold a hammer. A hand can
Oh,
hold a child. Like it's it's extraordinary just the capacity in an ordinary a hand can sculpt, a hand can paint. So
mm.
all these beautiful things in the body and to be stunned by it. I a few years ago was going to write a book on the Proverbs and I got 40 pages in and and didn't. But one of the things I did discover as just looking at the Proverbs is most of the Proverbs are arranged. There's no clear arrangement to the Proverbs. They all seem random, but the unifying theme in most of the Proverbs is the body. So what you do with your hands, what you do with your ears, what you do with your
Mm,
eyes, what you do with your
mm,
mouth, what you do with your feet.
mm,
There's a sense there's an anatomical kind of structure to thinking about
mm,
wisdom, what wisdom is. It's
mm.
almost like implicitly it's always embodied. It's never just up in your head. It's
Well,
you
that
look
makes
at things
sense
certain ways, you talk in certain ways.
because isn't wisdom knowledge applied? I do
Yeah,
something
always
with it.
wisdom. That's always
So,
Proverbs. I'm the
yeah.
smartest guy in the room. but I've actually figured out something about right living.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I want to just shout out that community that you were talking about. It's your wife's ministry with Indigenous women. It's newstorycommunity.net, you guys. If that
Yeah,
just
that's
piqued
it.
your
Yeah.
interest of Indigenous women healing, um, and that sounds like beautiful. Like I'm already like, who are these amazing women and the work that they're doing to heal? Have to tell you, Mark, I am going to come back to this conversation and listen to it a few times over as I'm working on another book. But this, just to go deeper into this idea of wonder for the body, to man, just to push back that conversation or quiet the noise that the world is having and telling us what our body is for. And one of the things that kind of comes full circle, as we are saying, that the world telling us, eat this, don't eat that, get the body to look like this. And right now, there's a groundswell happening out there where there literally is now a pill that people can take to lose the weight. I never thought I would see it. I've been in this industry for
Wow.
30 some years, but there's now a pill. If you have trouble losing weight, you can take this pill and it will basically, it quiets down some receptors in your brain that shut down the dopamine craving. So you're no longer hungry for food. It
Mm.
just, it quells and calms the hunger. And so then you lose weight because you're not hungry. All that to say, that's one way to
Yeah.
fix it, but the way of healing that already is wired in us,
Yeah.
neurology and biology, is a slow way. It's a slow and
Yeah.
deliberate and attentive way that the world moving so fast goes, no, just give me the pill. Give me the
Yeah.
pill. So what would you say to that?
Well, I mean, I want to be very careful because I don't have any medical credentials, and
Yeah.
I know a number of dear people who are being medicated for something or another and
Sure.
great benefit. So I don't want to in any way
Right.
give the impression that if some sort of weight loss
Medicine
could
was
be,
bad.
yeah,
Right.
could be help
Uh,
could help with.
right.
At the same time, I absolutely agree that most things significant of lasting value, um, whether it's sort of growing in something or maybe losing a lot of weight, uh, are going to happen slowly because the slowness is first, it honors what the body can do and can't do. You know that
Mm-hmm.
to take off weight too quickly can be put one in great risk. But the other thing is because it's about formation of habits always,
Mm,
and those take much longer. So I
yeah.
would question, like, I mean, I would wonder if there was a longitudinal study done of people taking the pill, if they find that the issue is not just hunger, and so you put this blockers in that the dopamine of getting a cheeseburger or something is not quite there, but if there's habits that have formed around eating
Mhm.
that uh the drugs can't quite turn off or whatever. So the
Right.
habitual, in a sense, your body wants something even if your mind is saying, no, you don't. I mean,
Hmm.
again, I'm watching this with the women that we work with in addiction, and one of the women had a long heroin addiction, and there's amazing drugs now, Sublocade. You shoot it right into the gut, and it takes away
Hmm.
the craving.
Hmm.
And even some of the, if you're going to a heroin hit, it would take away some of the damage that would do. But man, it's still in their head. This woman
Yeah, that's
walks
right.
walks all the time, and even at one point had a significant lapse and went back to the addiction, even though it was doing nothing for her. But
Mm.
the habits that had
Hmm.
formed
Hmm.
around kind of needing a drug, and
Hmm.
a whole sort of story in her head
Mm.
that was bigger than, stronger than this very
Hmm.
powerful drug for actually that
Hmm.
does significant work in taking away the craving. So that would be, I don't know, and I'm
Yeah.
sure the studies are being done, and I'm sure it's wildly successful where some people and then others maybe not so.
Mm-hmm.
Drugs tend to be. But in
Mm-hmm.
the end, I would say, our whole life is about um, the formation of a character, which is always, always, always about practices that are
Yes.
formative. They form our habits, they form our
Yes.
attitude of the heart, and these things never can be done quickly.
So true. Practices. That's one
Yeah,
of our favorite words to use around here. And we tell people, you're just practicing.
yeah,
Like, wait, you're picking up another weight today? Just practicing.
yeah,
Like, there's no big prize or, gold medal gonna happen. We're just continuing
yeah.
to practice. Yeah. So good. I have so many more questions and I'm running out of time, but this question I do want to ask is for this book, God Walk. What do you hope that the reader comes away with?
Well, I hope if they're not walking, they start walking. And
Mm,
if they are walking, that maybe they would be maybe a little more mindful about it. And I don't mean obsessing. I just think all the stuff I talk about in the book about how you pay attention, what you may pay
mm-hmm,
attention to. So I hope for
mm-hmm,
that. In the end, I think all my books, it's called God Walk,
mm-hmm.
and it's a sort of an odd title, but it's the idea that God invites us on the walk. God himself is a walker.
Yeah.
God, I quote extensively a Japanese theologian, Kosako Koyama, who wrote a beautiful
Yes.
book in the 70s called The 3 Mile an Hour God. And so I really am hoping that I don't think we can rush a relationship with God. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
God's in a hurry. And I think if we're in a hurry, we'll often miss a lot of God's presence. And so I would hope that, yeah, people walk, but that there would be a attentiveness to themselves, each other, and to the God who walks with us.
Coming back to full circle when I said just being in your presence, there's a
Mm.
stillness, there's a depth, there is a slowness, which
Mm.
I'm gonna say, come on, bring that into me more as I go back into this workplace. But I think that with that, your stillness that you do, you said one word, you're like, I really have to guard my heart around that. Give people some practicals of what does it look like to guard so that you can remain a person who's attentive and moves slow.
Yeah, so if you have alternate routes to where you drive for say for work, is there a slower one? Slower
Mm,
speed limit, and not necessarily slower, more traffic. That tests the spirituality of anybody. But is there kind of a back route?
yeah, that's good.
And for many there won't be, but if there is, just at least take it a few times a week and
Yeah.
intentionally and drive the speed limit or under the speed limit.
Woo.
And around that, really kind of notice what you see. There's like even in places that are fairly close to urban centers, it's still astonishing how much wildlife there is. Like I live very close to an urban center. I see wolves, foxes, coyotes, deers, elk. I've narrowly missed seeing bears because they're elusive creatures, etc. And moose. And I'm like it's right next to an urban center, but they're
Hmm.
out there. But we're usually you're not going to see them if you're driving the freeway. It's just almost guaranteed. So just pay attention. The other thing is when you're talking with somebody, and especially if you're that type A or that Enneagram 8 or whatever you are, and people begin a conversation with, I know you're busy, uh, like take that as a curse and not a blessing, or don't be flattered by that. Do not be
Uh-huh.
flattered by that.
Uh-huh.
Be alarmed and turn your whole body toward that person. Stop,
Mm-hmm.
slow, become deeply interested, and turn your whole body toward them, your face toward them. Uh,
Mm.
like whatever. sort of whatever vibes we're giving off that people would start a conversation with, I know you're busy, should be like, oh,
Yeah.
how do you know
Good.
that? So
Yeah.
just simple stuff like that. Something, and this is really hard, but I do try to do it sometimes. You're in a checkout or whatever, or you're driving and you're coming up to the stoplight, and there's like no cars in one lane and five in the other. Once in a while, just get behind the five car,
Wow.
or get behind, there's 10 people in that checkout and there's two. Just get into 10. Just not, you don't have to do it every time, but just a practice of saying, I'm gonna try to get in a conversation with the person in the checkout in front of me. Not that they weird them out, but we just get into a conversation that's semi-meaningful. So those sort of things have helped me enormously, and they're
Really?
so against my grain. Like there's nothing in me that wants to, like, if that lane is open and there's five cars in the other, it's like, God, you have gifted me from, my plight, and you have opened up, the sea for me to cross or whatever. That's my
Yeah.
mindset. So I am working deeply against my my instincts
Your
to sort of,
gut. Yeah. Your knee
let's just
jerk.
get in the slow lane.
So these are incredible. These are things that you
Yeah,
practice yourself.
yeah, yeah. I didn't
I'm what? Say it again?
I didn't know until a few years ago there's a bison farm about very close to my house, but I was always getting onto the
Expressway.
thoroughway, the
Yeah.
throughway, whatever you call it, highway, this freeway. And I was like, I just want to get there. And then I started looking for these alternate routes. It turns out I have many options and I've explored them all. And there's a bison farm. Like, who gets buffalo in their backyard?
I love it.
I sing songs to the bison. I mean, I just like I greet them every time. Right now, they've, I guess, slaughtered them all, so they're waiting for the little baby bisons to come in. So I keep looking for the bison. Like who gets that? And it might be something like that in your backyard,
Oh,
because I
sure.
missed it for several years being in a hurry.
May I ask how old you are?
I'm 63, almost 64.
Okay. I just turned 53.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
gonna I'm gonna check in with you in
Okay.
10 years.
Okay, 10 years and
Well, let's not wait 10 years. I'm sure you're gonna write another book and come back, but yeah, 63. I want to be able to go, wow, that girl at 53. Remember she had that conversation with Mark about exposing herself. It's basically exposure therapy.
yeah.
Just and that's cognitive behavior
Go
stuff.
go face the thing you fear. I fear
Yeah,
going down, whatever.
that's good, Mark. This was the best conversation I've had in a very long time.
Hey, thanks, Alisa.
So kind, so grateful God made you, put a
Mm.
message on your heart to write, God walk, what you and your wife are doing with New Story Community. And yeah, listeners, as you guys are listening, go check out any of Mark's work. I'm sure where could they find more about
I
you?
mean, you can go to my website, markbuchanan.net, but yeah, all my books are on, on
And
the,
Amazon and all the places.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we will have you back. Okay, I'm going to ask three fun rapid fire questions. Just stay loose. Stay loose. Ready?
Okay.
Favorite way to move your body?
Walking and now and I'm doing more stretching as well, which
Yeah,
is just helpful.
it really is. Can I just sidebar? I noticed too, and again, 53. I want to be able to move well through the back
Mhm.
end of my life because you can have strength and stamina and endurance, but you can also start to close down because we don't
Yeah,
stretch to get the mobility in there and really expand
yeah.
up because our body over time, just gravity starts to shut us down. So I'm with you on that. I love that. Coffee, tea, or kombucha? What would be your
Oh,
go-to?
coffee, yeah.
Coffee all day long. And then your favorite food to eat. What's your
Oh,
go-to?
I just made a friend of mine who's a really good chef helped me make a Thai seafood dish. It's
Oof.
red curry and prawns and scallops, and I could eat that every night. I mean, it would just be, terrible for my waistline, but okay. I
Mouth
love,
is watering.
yeah, I love that.
That's so good. Then when you eat it, just pay attention to every bite.
Yeah, the
Enjoy it
flavors,
slowly.
the textures,
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark, thanks for being here. We hope to have you back again. Come back anytime. You're writing anything, talking anything. I think I heard yesterday as you were talking on a podcast that you're considering more fiction.
Yeah, I've been writing fiction for the last couple of years. I'm just finishing up a trilogy. I've published two books on the life of David. They're novels.
David. Yeah.
And this morning I was I'm going through sort of final edits on on book three, and
Awesome.
then waiting to hear from a publisher. I'm hoping this week on a book that a historical fiction piece on a village in France that rescued, tiny village in France, and during World War II they rescued over 2,500 Jewish people.
Wow.
And so I've been deeply fascinated by the story for 25 years.
Yeah.
And finally went and lived in the community for a little while and researched the story, and decided I'm not a historian, um, and I wanted to make it into a novel. So
Yeah.
it's a big whopping novel. It's about 500-page novel that I hope I get a book deal any day now.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. Such a gift. Thank you for who you are to the body of Christ and to the world at large. Grateful for you.
Lisa, thank you. Bless you.
Bless you.
Thanks for watching, and remember, this video was brought to you by Revelation Wellness Instructor Training Program. Do you love Jesus and have a passion for fitness and wellness? Or maybe you're tired of the roller coaster of obsessing over and neglecting your body, and you know there has to be more to fitness. Let us equip you to lead others to health and wholeness rooted in Jesus Christ through our faith-based fitness instructor training program. Go to our website to learn more and listen to testimonies of people just like you who are bringing hope and healing to their communities as fitness teacher gospel preachers. Click the link in the description of this video and download a packet to get your journey to health and wholeness through Christ started today.